I made a dude get his nuts waxed on the first date after he lied to me. When I was in my early 20s and online dating was just starting, I made a profile and said I was just not going to be into two things: smokers and people with kids. Just that. You could be anything else, and if the chemistry is there, we are all good. I meet this guy early in the morning for a breakfast date, and we are hitting it off averagely. No sparks but no red flags. The date goes for 2.5 hours, breakfast taking forever, until we are splitting the bill, and he tells me he has a kid. I ask him if he read my profile to know that I was not interested in that, and he says, "Yes, I read that, but knew that if you just spent some time with me, you'd see how great I am, and how you'd be willing to see past that." I was floored as now he wasted 3 hours of my life, and was okay with being a liar. That was unacceptable to me. I said, "Well, I don't want this date to end, but I have to go across town to get my Brazilian, where they take all the hair off, including the bum hole. Done in an hour. Want to come with me and get one too? It's not painful. A total lie. And I think it's attractive for men to be clean there. No pressure, but I'm pretty busy the rest of the week, and this is my only free day." He was all about following me anywhere. I told the ladies that this was his first time and that they should take everything, including the butt. He held my hand between a curtain and we both got them done at the same time. He screamed a lot but was a champ and went through with it. I made him pay for his own and never called him again. If you are out there, Chris, please don't lie to women on the first date. It's a really bad way to start a relationship. My guidance counselor told me I wasn't university material, and years later, I pretended not to know her. I know it doesn't sound much like revenge, but it was, oh so sweet, let me tell you. Back in high school, I struggled hard. I had a stepdad who adopted me and then ignored me my whole life, and a mom who was wrapped up in making his life perfect. Yeah, he was what some might call a textbook narcissist, with my mom as his flying monkey. Anyway, school was a difficult time for me, and I had a lot of anxiety and a hard time focusing. I attended all my classes and was always doing very well on my assignments, but had trouble completing them. My guidance counselor was the same all through high school, and every year would start with a meeting with her, and I would explain I needed more help because I was struggling to focus. She brushed me off every time, stating that I obviously wasn't trying hard enough because I had no excuse, since my stepdad was, wait for it, a social worker for the school board and personal friend of hers. Yeah, it was awful. At the end of high school, we had our obligatory meeting about what colleges, universities, or trade schools to apply to. I told her I was interested in psychology and would like to be a counselor or to teach psychology. This woman scoffed, literally scoffed at me. She said, and I quote, "Please do not apply to university. It would be a huge disappointment for you. You are not university material, and you may be better with a community college or even certificate in administration." Now let me say, there is nothing wrong with going to community college or getting a certificate in something. Nothing at all. But this woman's words would haunt me my whole life. I wanted to pursue something I was very interested in, and she essentially told me I wasn't smart enough or capable enough to do it. Fast forward to my late 20s. I worked at a variety of small jobs here and there and became very depressed. I finally decided one day that fuck it, I'm applying for university. Well, I got in, and I graduated with honors, so I went to teacher's college for another bachelor degree. Again, graduated with honors, and about 5 years ago, I finally finished my master's in behavioral psychology. 2 years ago, stepdad died. And who was at the visitation? My old guidance counselor. She came right over and started talking to me immediately, like she knew me. Like we're old friends. I cut her off and said, "I'm so sorry, you must be confusing me with someone else." She looked absolutely shocked and said, "I was your guidance counselor for 4 years." And I just shook my head and gave the best blank look I could give, shrugged and said, "Sorry, I honestly don't remember you." When I left, she looked a bit confused and disappointed. I think she had hoped for me to have all of these good memories of her, how helpful she was to me as a teen. But nope. I wanted her to feel that she was nothing to me, had zero effect. I felt pretty good about that. She expected an inheritance from my late husband. My husband passed away 2 years ago. He was a remodeler who had a broad list of clients. For a time, to help out the adult daughter, let's call her Kiki, of my good friend of 42 years, Ami. He would hire her as a helper on some of his larger remodeling projects. During that time, Kay would occasionally borrow things for her own projects. A portable CD player, a pair of channel locks, a winch and come along, a table saw, chainsaw, a Graco cart paint sprayer, and an air compressor and nail gun. They were all borrowed clean, in working order, in good condition, with all relevant parts included. Every single one of them was returned with great delays, all broken and missing significant parts, and a crap ton of excuses. Over 2 years, Kiki managed to cost him nearly $5,000 in losses. Finally, he also quit hiring her as a helper because he caught her stealing from one of his clients and forced her to put the item she took right back and then kicked her off the job immediately. Last September, I was visiting Ami, and Kiki was there. And then Kiki hit me up for what she called her promised inheritance, which was the first I ever heard about it. Given that my hubby and I spent the 8 years of his terminal illness talking about what he wanted after his death, given that he gifted things of his that he wanted friends to have before he died, I knew damn well he didn't intend for Kiki to have anything. My husband left no will. Ami knew that my hubby had quit lending her tools after getting the cart paint sprayer back. Ami also knew Kiki's attempted theft had caused him to refuse to have her work on anything with him for any reason. Now, our state is a community property state. When a spouse dies without a will, only the surviving spouse inherits, so Ami told her daughter to back off, and I got the bright idea of how I was going to handle getting rid of all that broken stuff which was still taking up room in the tool shed. So I told her I'd be sure to pick something out for her, even though her own behavior was the root cause of the bad blood between herself and my husband. So the next day, with Ami's help, I dropped off all the broken tools and the busted-up CD player Kiki borrowed from my hubby at her apartment. Kiki wanted to know what I expected her to do with all of it. I told her that I expected her to do with them whatever it was she had expected my hubby to do with them after she returned them in the condition they were in. Now, she is the proud owner of a bunch of useless tools, and I got to reclaim nearly 35 sq of space in what is now my tool shed. I got a little girl in trouble on purpose. I have a 1-year-old son, and we decided to go to the playground one day. On this day, a bunch of kids were there, among whom was a bratty 4-year-or-so girl who had a mean streak to her. My son, who didn't know better, went close to her and she just tells him, "What are you doing here? You're not invited here." I agree, I kinda didn't like my son being bullied, but I figured he doesn't understand these things yet and I didn't want to be one of those sensitive helicopter parents who shield their kids from everything. So I just took my son and we played elsewhere. Later on, I see that her grandma was there, and it seemed like she's not one of those loosey-goosey grandma. So while the girl was close to her grandma, and it dawned on me I could bait her to be mean to my kid in front of Granny. So I placed my son close to her, since I figured out he wouldn't understand anyways. And it worked. She said, "You're not welcome here, go away." And her grandma heard, and she got in trouble, and the grandma said they now will go home since she can't be nice. She fought it, but couldn't do anything. Continuously kick my seat on flight, get your belongings soaked. This happened a few years ago when I was flying to Canada for a trip. Midway through the flight, I was awakened by the person behind kicking my seat. I thought it was a kid, so I ignored it. After a few minutes of non-stop kicking, I turned around and saw that it was a guy in his mid-20s. I asked him politely to stop and could hear him and his friends snickering, saying something in a language I did not understand. He stopped for a moment but restarted. So I took my water bottle and slowly emptied half of it on top of his backpack that was under my seat. I heard him freak out when we landed, and it was satisfying as fuck. Sister-in-law insulted my kids, so I exposed her lies. Sister-in-law is the kind of mom that always has to one-up other kids. She constantly talks about how her kids are smarter, taller, faster, etc. than her friends' kids. She literally bragged about them peeing more than her friends' kids when they were babies. Lol. It was worse when my husband and I had our twins. Suddenly everything was a competition. One of my girls rolled over at 4 months. Her son had rolled over when he was just a week old. The twins both took their first steps around 13 months. Her daughter was running at 4 months. She even changed the weight of her kids' birth weights, which makes them both heavier than the current heaviest newborn in America. It's so weird that she feels the need to tell such obvious lies, especially to people who know she's lying, because they were there when her kids were small. I got annoyed when she went from lying about her own kids to telling me there's something wrong with mine. The girls are a few months shy of 2, And they're both healthy, on track, and hitting their milestones. SIL has become obsessed with the idea that there is something wrong with them because they're not speaking in long sentences. Of course, they're not. They're not even two. They're both developmentally on track, but she insists that her children were speaking in 5-6-word phrases by 18 months. Honestly, her son is almost 7, and I can still barely understand a word the kid says. My husband and I ignored her, but she took it too far when I got a call from her friend who works in early intervention, who was under the impression I was very concerned about my children. We talked, and her friend confirmed that yes, they are on track, and no, there's nothing to worry about. I finally lost my patience. Hey, her kids are breaking almost every record there is, and that should be celebrated. We had dinner with my husband's family on Saturday, and I decided it was the perfect time to give her my gift, a booklet I had printed and laminated called the White Claw Book of World Records. I printed all the supposed milestones of her kids, complete with photos and info of the actual world record holders now that they had been pushed to second place. She flipped through the first couple of pages, went beet red, and called me an asshole. Her husband took it from her and got through the first page before laughing hysterically and asking her why the hell she was still lying. Apparently, it was not the first time they'd talked about her lying about their kids. She stormed out but texted me later that night and asked why I'd humiliated her when all she'd ever tried to do was help me get my kids the help they needed. But if that was how I wanted to treat her, then she'd stop. So I guess it's a win for me. Take my parking spot that I just dug out? Fine, I'll bury your car. This happened a couple years ago. It had snowed a bunch, and so I went out to clear a spot for my boyfriend when he got home from work. I spent a while digging it out, and as I was finishing up, some girl drove up and parked in it. I told her that I just dug it out, intending to use it, and asked her to move, and she didn't. She then got out of her car and walked away. Turns out she lived 2 buildings down, so she normally wouldn't park there anyways. Our complex had a mini snowplow, and the dude was plowing in the area and saw this all go down. He helped me move all the snow from the pile he just created and put it all around her car. We buried it up to the door handles on all sides. He then dug out a new spot for me. Saw her later trying to dig out her car. Turns out she didn't have a shovel. So, naturally, because I'm petty, I went out and shoveled the sidewalk again from the lot up to our building and threw all of the snow on her vehicle while I did it. Then went inside and took my shovel with me. I caught my partner cheating, so I covered his whole house in glitter. That's literally it. I caught him cheating by looking through his trash emails and found some pretty graphic emails from the other woman. Confirmed he was with her that day through his Google Maps tracking. So I got every bit of loose glitter I owned and I went to his house and scattered it. In his bed, his couch, his chairs, his toilets, his clothes, his iron flat-top stove. I know I'll be okay and I'm going to heal. But guess who probably won't ever be able to fully get rid of all the glitter? I'm sorry, who are you? Context. I've been bullied all my life and have been in recovery for a multitude of things for the past year or so. I go to university in the same city I grew up in, so there's a high chance of me coming across people who went to previous schools or who bullied me. I was well known for being bad-tempered and easy to wind up when I was younger. What happened? I was in the pharmacy waiting to pick up my prescription when someone shouted something at me. I pretended to not hear them, and they shouted again. They ended up getting frustrated and tugging on my arm. I twisted around and immediately recognized who it was, a guy who had bullied me for over 10 years. So, rather than get angry, I thought I would mess with him and see what happens. Him, hi, heard you were in local university? Him, hi, heard you were in local university. Me, I'm sorry, but I don't know who you are. Do I know you from somewhere? Immediately, he deflated. It was glorious to see. I had to stop myself from smiling. Him, it's me, his name, from school. Come on, you know me with a confused face. Acting 100. I'm really sorry, but I don't know you. Did we go swimming together, perhaps? Him. No, I don't think so. Me, I'm really sorry, but I just don't know who you are. I think you should go to the back of the line, sir. I went on my phone and just blocked him out. He looked lost and eventually went to the back of the line. I got my prescription, ignored him, and went to my car and drove off. I literally screamed for joy, and also because I was about to break down. It was a wonderful feeling to see him like that and to feel like he had nothing against me. To make him feel like he hadn't had a large effect on my life. Edit. I'm amazed so many people have read this, seeing as I wrote this in 5 minutes in an Asda car park. To the people who think he was about to be nice or that I bullied him, I have to disagree. He was never nice to me and would love to pretend to be nice and then pull the rug. Nothing I could do would be half as worse as what he's done to me. I don't owe him anything. Hi again, Edit. Thank you all for the love and awards, it means a lot. And I just want to clarify that he didn't shout my name but said, "Oi, Ginger," and that he was probably going to make fun of the fact I'm going to the local university and not a better one,